How to rewire your brain for success. Luke out here today. And you may be looking at this going, okay, Luke, what are we talking about today? Rewiring your brain sounds kind of Frankensteinish. And this is, we're talking about the thing holding you back. Like a lot of people want to start a business. A lot of people want to be super fit. A lot of people want to walk up to a girl and say, hey, get her number. What is the thing that stops us from doing that? And the first thing or first thought for a lot is fear stops us from doing the things that we want to do. Like we're afraid. But are you really afraid of starting a business that could possibly give you freedom? Are you really afraid of being married to a woman that you feel like she looks like a model? Like what are you exactly afraid of? Is it the rejection or actually failing? Well, we do a lot of things in life and fail at, right? Like when we rode a bike, we failed. When you went swimming, sometimes we fail. There's a lot of things that we're not afraid to fail at. So what is the actual thing? Well, let me tell you a quick story. It's not true, but it will explain my point. Let's say, for example, you created the magic formula to hairspray. And if you could just get this in the hands of every salonist in America, you'd be a billionaire, right? There's actually a man. It was something like this. He did it and became a billionaire. All you'd have to do is get this. You created this formula, and it was going to change the world of hair. Let's say that it could even make bald people grow hair. I mean, it's something crazy, right? So at this point, what is the actual formula of selling this? You have this formula. If salons got a hold of it, you'd be a billionaire. But what's the formula of making that happen? This formula right here. It's called the input equals output formula. What this means is if you could call 100 salonists and let's say that 10 of them said yes to your product. Because let's say the other 90, you're on the phone with them, they just don't believe you. In your hands, you have a formula that can help bald people grow hair. You're going to get some rejection there. And let's say 10 people said, yes, I want to give it a shot. And of those 10 people, they say yes, and within let's say a month, you're making 10K a month because they're selling it like crazy. Customers growing hair so fast, I gotta cut it every week. This wild thing that's not even true, is a fake story I made up. It does represent another story that's actually real, but it's kind of more the dramatic story, if you will. And it's input equals output. Most people in their minds and in their hands have invented something. Inside of them, they have talent. This bottle of hairspray, if you will, or this magic formula growing hair, represents something in all of us. How many people have died with their talents that was never used 100%, at its full potential? They say the greatest musicians in the world we have never heard. They had the magic formula to talent, and we would never know who they are. Interesting, ain't it? And it comes down to this. Input equals output. All you had to do is make 100 cold calls. And 10 people would tell you yes. There's people who could even know this formula. They know for a fact. And that's the thing with life. Most people don't know how many calls you're going to make. But, I mean, come on. If you got a formula that can make bald people grow hair, I mean, come on. Like, someone's going to want to see this, right? But you still have to do the input. You still got to make the 100 cold calls, right? Like for example, if you are a dude with a six pack and you are strong, the world wants what you have. Why haven't you sold your workout to people and became a millionaire? Because we've known people who've done this. Why haven't you done it? Like we have this thing called the internet. People have went onto the internet, gained some information, and then became millionaires and billionaires. But why is 65% of America still living check to check? Why is that? Here's why. Input equals output. The problem is that making 100 cold calls is hard. There's some people who'd rather create the magic formula to something than to actually do the thing that makes this worth a lot of money. Okay? This is worth zero if people buy it. How do people buy it? By them finding out about it. So it is the input. Here's another example. Let's say the formula to marrying the perfect woman for you, like she is a 10 out of a 10, But there's some rejection in this. So let's say that you have to walk up to 50 girls, and only one of them, let's say you walk up to 50 girls, that is a 10. But let's say you're a 2. You know what I'm saying? You're a 2. She's a 10. It is a numbers game, for an example. And let's say out of 50 girls, one tells you yes. And she is a 10 out of a 10, man. I mean, she's everything. She'll be the best wife. She's going to have the prettiest kids. I mean, she's going to be, like, she's going to change your world. Like, she's going to make you happy, right? That's just the dream world. Like, this one yes out of 50 girls. And let's say that, the most beautiful thing in your life, she's going to make you happy. She's going to love you, right? And all you had to do is walk up to 50 girls and spend 30 seconds of your life, ask for a phone number, and walk away. Mathematically, what is that? Mathematically, or let's say that it took 1 minute of your life to talk to these girls and ask for the number, and out of 50, one says yes. That's not even an hour of your time to possibly spend the rest of your life with someone who can make you happy. Because, if you're happy, a lot of times being married to the right woman or the right man helps people prosper. So this could help you in every way. She could be the mother of your children, the next generation. And all you had to do is spend an hour of your life, a minute per girl. And I know this is kind of like some fake numbers I'm throwing out there, but this is what it comes down to. Input equals output. But why do people have a hard time with this part? Is it rejection? You're not going to get punched in the face. Like, they're not going to shoot you, right? They're not going to kill you. So what's the actual problem? You ready for this? This is actually interesting. This is the problem. This is the answer to why most people don't do what they want to do. They do not hit their goal. And this is something that I've observed in my life. Now, some of this, no. Okay. Because this comes down to this word right here, dopamine. And also, the dopamine cycle or dopamine jail. Here's what I mean. Why are we addicted to news when it's bad news? Do we really want to hear people getting killed? Like, why are we fascinated by this? Why are people addicted to Netflix? Why are people looking at their phones 70, 80 times a day? Why do people look at pornography? Why do they do that? Even willing to pay for it. Why do people constantly think about intimacy? Why do people do drugs knowing that, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. Drugs. Why do people do drugs knowing it's literally taking decades off their life? And you're like, shower, Luke? Really? A shower? Let me ask you this. If a shower caused a lot of pain in your life, how many clean people would we actually have? Taking a shower is actually a pleasure. YouTube. You're like, Luke, there's some bad things in here, but there's some good things in here too. Like, why is this a mix? Because it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, right? Don't do bad things, right? Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do this. Pornography destroys marriages, but it also destroys your brain. And in fact, 4 and 6 have very similar results, actually. The greatest crime of both these things is that it destroys your focus. But in a way, all these things do that. Am I against intimacy with those, with the one that you love? 100% no. Like, this is a part of it. But this can be in a place in your life to where it actually destroys your success. Here's what I'm trying to explain to you. Am I against the news? I'm against fake news. I'm against weird news. I'm against things I'm against the comment. I'm against the addiction of these things, because if you can't stop it, let me ask you this. Could you go a week without this? Could you go a week without this or this? Could you go a week without this? Do not try to do a week without this, but do this instead. Take a cold shower. How easy would that be? Why is this? Now, this is a work in progress. Is there a human on this planet that is 100% what all these things? Maybe. I don't know them. But is there a way that you can break the chains and addiction? So what does this have to do with this? Because the reason you can't do this is because it feels bad. But in our mind, we're training everything to do things that feel good. But all the things that you want in life feels bad. For an example, if you want to, have low body fat, you got to lay off the sugar. You have to lay off the carbs. You have to go do things that hurt, like exercise and lift weights. If you want to grow a business, you got to do things that 99% of people aren't willing to do. Make sacrifice, invest, do hard things. Like for the people who've been married 50, 60, 70 years, they want to pay a price that most people aren't willing to pay. It's very painful, very, very, very painful. Okay? This may offend a lot of people what I'm saying right now because I'm messing with their pleasure. I'm messing with the thing that makes them happy. But I'm recording this because there's some of you telling me that, well, I mean, it's kind of like this. If I told you, hey, you recorded me 300 episodes at 1 hour apiece, and I'll pay you $1 million. But you have to do it in 3 months. How many people would fail at this? Most people would fail. Even at $1 million. A lot of people would fail. A lot of people would fail at this. The fact that blows my mind is that there would not be 100% success rate. Now, you would think with $1 million, right, that everyone would be on the winning train. I think most people could record 300 episodes. But how many people have started a podcast and never got past the 10th episode? Last night, I recorded my 169th episode. Most people stop before 10. Because it's the principle of the matter that matters to me. Is my podcast like a big moneymaker? No, it's not. Actually, it's not a big moneymaker. But it has made me a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But I have things that make me more money than podcasts. And I'll take this back. It does make me a lot of money. But it's not, I should say, it's not my biggest moneymaker. So when people start a podcast, why do they stop? Input equals output because we do not understand this thing right here. For an example, let's say that you want to start a business, or let's say that you want to make $100K a year at a virtual sales job. And let's say I handed you 50 apps of the greatest companies you could work for. What should your next step be? Like if you knew you get 100K year virtual sales job, and all you had to do was fill out 50 applications, and out of those 50 applications, one of them will actually give you the 100K job. So what should your next steps be? To do the 50 apps as fast as possible. Like, why wouldn't you try to do the 50 apps in a day? Do you know what most people do? Most people would take the week, 2 weeks, and then some people wouldn't even fill all 50 apps. Like, if they knew in their heart and mind. But there's some people you could actually tell them, fill 50 apps and you can get a 100K job, and then they wouldn't do it. Why? Because it doesn't feel like this. This feels good. The reason people want to make 100, so it's like this. The reason people want a 100K job because they want the same feeling this gives you. But why would you go through the sacrifice when you can just do this for free? And literally, you're just a tap away. You could literally, if you want porn, you can just tap, tap, boom, you're there. And you can get the same feeling that 100K a year would give you. So why would you go for the 100K job when you can literally go tap, tap? Or you can literally tap on Netflix. Or you can just, maybe it's not so extreme as this, but maybe you could just go to YouTube and go watch something. When it could give you the same feeling that you get when you're accepted into the job. Because your purpose has to change. You can't do things because of how it makes you feel. You have to set a goal, and then it has to go beyond feelings. Because the moment things go hard, because if the reason you do these things, because we do this because of how it makes us feel. But you got to ask yourself, why do we do this? Why do we do this here? Because of the pain it's going to cause if we don't do it. Today, with rising inflation, property costs going up, and the crazy economics going on right now, you need to be doing this right now. Like, you need to do this. And if you don't do this, your kids are on the street and they're suffering, and they're in some crazy school system that you don't want to put them in, and now they're being taught some weird stuff. Your wife is having to go to a job and she's getting hit on, right? She's having to go to a job that she hates, and you're working at a job that you absolutely hate, and your family just got pulled away. That's why you need to do that. Maybe that's extreme. Maybe it's totally extreme. Like, can your wife actually go to a job without getting hit on? Sure. Does your kids actually have to go to a bad? This is just something that I just made up. Like, this is something that I just completely made up. But let's say that I was making something up extreme, that maybe it was a fear in your life, a pain, right? Because if you don't, let's say that you have to make 100K, it needs to be based on math and numbers. It has to be just for the fact that it's a puzzle and you want to solve it. And solving the puzzle makes you happy, not for the instant buzz that this gives you. Because what I've had to rewire in my brain is just if it's cheap gratification is probably destroying you. I mean, think about it. Your best foods doesn't come out of your pantry. It comes from the fridge. And it comes from the fridge, you probably have to cook it. And you have to cook it, you probably have to prepare it. The foods that you can just throw in your mouth so quickly are the ones that's probably destroying you. And the food that takes you a while to cook is probably the ones that's best for you. And probably the girl that's the easiest to get is probably not the one you need. Probably the girl that's the hardest one to get is probably the one that you need, because one has more standards than the other. And probably the pathway to where you want to go, like, growing a business and all that, is probably a harder path, and that's why very few take it. Because, like they say, if it's so easy, why isn't everyone doing it? Because this is why. Because if it doesn't make them feel like this, they don't want to do it. If it's not, it's like this. They want they want an easier pleasure than a click and a tap on a phone. Like, what's a faster way? We're like drug addicts, digital drug addicts. And if it can't beat this feeling at the speed that this can give it to me, it's not worth it. And that's how we're wiring our brain. So what do I recommend that we do? I recommend that we kill these things. Kill this. Totally. And if you're doing this, destroy it. It's destroying your success. And the stricter you can go, people's going to call you a madman, right? Limit as much as you can in your life. And, if you want to play hard instead of hot, do it cold sometimes. I never understood why people took cold showers. It did not make sense to me. And I still love warm showers. Don't get me wrong. Like, it feels amazing. But you do have to program your brain, because if you're not careful, your brain will control you. Give me an example, Luke. Okay. Ready? Smoking. Obesity. Here's a few things. Smoking. Obesity. I'll give you another one. Murder. Luke, what in the world? People know murdering is bad, but they keep doing it. They know they're going to go to jail. They know they're going to get caught. But why can't they stop? Their mind is in control. Like, their brain has corrupted. It's taken over. Obesity. They know if they ate better, they lived longer, they'd be happier, and they don't stop. Smoking. They know the moment they put that thing in their mouth is going to kill them. It's going to be they know this is the wrong way to go down. And yet, they do it because their mind is in control. See, your mind is at war inside of itself. There's a part of my brain that doesn't like what I'm saying right now. But the other part, and I don't know the science, I don't know the name behind each part. I just know the chemical that reacts it, which is the dopamine. The dopamine that triggers. See, when God created dopamine, and He put this in our head, Like for example, hopefully this is not boring you, but if you can get this, the reason he put this here. So for example, when you started to mate and it felt good, it made you want to do more of it, right? As much as you can. What happened? Like, why is there a green light for this in your mind to do it? God put that in your mind so you would have more children. Why was that important? Because he wanted the world to populate. Because the world cannot sustain itself without a civilization. Because each person that comes to this world comes with personalities. They each learn skills. They can build a civilization. He knew that. He also gave you a pleasure when you go to eat. He wanted when you go to put something in your mouth and eat it, a green light went off in your head. You're like, ooh, this is good. Like caveman said, ooh, this good, Or the first man created. He goes, wow, this thing I put in my mouth and ate it is good. I need to do that again. So they kept mating, they kept eating, right? And what they taught when they went to go look at the sunshine and it made them feel good, they did more of it. And then when they got in the water, it gave them a good feeling, so they did it. It's like the algorithm, like on Facebook. When you get a like, you say, hey guys, it's a great day. And the first time you post it on your Facebook, guys, I just had my first supper and took a picture of it. You got a bunch of likes on it. So you just learn to post more things like that. Or if you say, guys, here's my dog. And everyone liked your dog and you got like 100 likes. So, ooh, I got to do more of that. The algorithm's teaching you. Man didn't create the first algorithm. God did. And in your mind, when you went to go mate, he made it feel. And get this. The level of priority, he gave it the greater level of pleasure. Right? Like, obviously, this is probably going to feel better. I mean, for some people. This is probably going to be a greater pleasure than eating. And eating is probably a greater pleasure than sunshine. Right? But and depending on the level of pleasure, it depends on how much you do it and for how long you do it. Right? So and it's amazing. When do we stop eating? When we're full and it starts to get painful. That's when we stop. Here's the problem with this. The problem with this here is that in business, when things get hard, what happens? We stop. Because that's what our brains always taught us. Like, for example, if you put your hand on a stove and it's hot, you take it off because it hurts. So that's why there's more obese, overweight people than people are fit. Because our brain, if it's hard, we stop. And that's why you need to rewire your brain. So that's how you rewire your brain for success. Is instead of this, go find some hard things to do. Like work out, read, have a long conversation. Actually focus for once in your life. Focus. Oh, here's another one. You ready? You ready? Fast. Whew. Boy. Fast food. Like, don't eat any food for, let's say, 24 hours. Try this. You know what's funny? Because I fast every week. Your brain will make you think you're dying. But did you know we could go 30 days without food? But your brain is telling you you're going to die. You're not going to die. See, it's amazing. One part of your brain is telling you, good job, keep going. But the other part of your brain is screaming. I mean, your brain is absolutely screaming. That's where you have to go, okay, this is good for me. It's tricky. When you're one part of your brain, so inside of your brain, it's like multiple parties inside of your brain. It's a war against each other. It's absolutely fascinating studying the brain. And this is the basic, simple version. But most people don't get this, and that's why most people don't get what they want. So the things that are hard, we need to go push our limits on these things and do them, right? This might get people. This may really do it. Skip TV. Like skip TV. Like shut it off completely. Most people, if for example, if you took a television out of people's house, they felt like you ripped their heart out because they have to have it. Even if they have a phone in their hand, they can do the same thing with something about that big television, right? If you could skip TV, I mean, let me ask you this: could you skip TV? Like you watching TV, does it make you money? Does it help you get the woman or man that you want? Does it help you lose weight? Does it help you with the ultimate goals in your life? Then why do we spend 4 to 5 hours with that thing every day? Why do people do that? Right? What are the things like, for example, if you read, you could literally read something, give you an idea. How many people have started being on a company because of something they read? Jeff Bezos did a interview with someone on the news and literally told him he read some headlines and it made him start Amazon. Working out. If you're overweight and your sleep is off, can you achieve success? So we need to simplify our life. Now, what's with the long conversation? Because if you can have a long conversation with someone and focus. Now, some of you got this down, but others you don't. But the real deal is focus. Focus, focus, focus. Some people can't have a 10-minute conversation without watching a fly go by their head or just they lose focus. This is hard in this dopamine crazed world, but you want to build this list of things. This is how you rewire your brain and stick with something. Like find a hobby and stick with it. Or go hunting. Like go sit in the woods and just wait. Without your phone. I'm talking to myself now. Without your phone. Just you in the woods and God. How many people, if they just did that, like they could solve so many problems doing that? It's becoming a rare art. We should try it. This is how you rewire your brains, guys. And I think we're in our brain is starting to control us. And what makes it even worse, in a world of AI where it's starting to get a mind of its own, if we don't get a hold of this, yikes. It is scary, the future that's coming up ahead, if we don't get this together and get in control of our minds. Because we've now created a brain called AI that can think for itself and it can focus way better than we can. So, you want success, you want, to be fit, you want, a business, you want a happy relationship, learn how to do these things. Everything you want is hard, so go do some hard things and actually make it fun.